This is Pastor Jeff Chavis. I'm the pastor of Church Online. You could find us online at churchonline.com, but we spell that uniquely CHRCH, Church Online, because we say all that's missing is you. This morning, I want to focus on contentment. I feel like that is something that is just in such short supply in our world. How many of us have that moment where we're just sort of longing for the next thing, looking for the next situation, the next job, the next home, whatever it might be? And then somehow in our minds we think, well, then I'll be content. But the reality is once we get into the new job, the new house, the new situation, whatever it might be, we really don't feel content, do we? But the Bible talks a whole lot about contentment, especially some of Paul's writings in the New Testament. But the place I want to take us to is in Hebrews chapter 13, verses 5 and 6, because it says it right there. But then the framework is what's really important. So let me read that to you again. Hebrews 13, 5 and 6. Let your conduct be without covetousness, because be content with such things as you have. For he himself has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper. I will not fear. What can man do to me? Those words, and even when I read that, I recognize they sound foreign to us. Those words don't sound like something we even maybe fully grasp a hold of. So let me give you the framework for that. First, it starts out, let your conduct be without covetousness. Some of your Bibles will say without love of money. But covetousness doesn't necessarily mean just money. There's things that we desire. In fact, that is part of the Ten Commandments, isn't it? You shall not covet. But in our world, it seems like that's just thrown at us in every situation, in all different ways. We hear it in radio and television ads and things like that, and we hear those words that this thing will bring contentment, whatever it might be. And again, we all probably know that these things that we're longing for don't really truly bring contentment. That line, the key verse here, the key part of this verse here is be content with such things as you have. Keep that in mind. We live in this world where I'm sitting right now and there's a computer right in front of me. And of course, this computer is a couple of years old, and there's always the thought process in all of our minds. Oh, I need the latest, the newest, the fastest. In fact, I went to a trade show over this last week here in Las Vegas, and it was just an entire convention center filled with the newest, latest technology. And you have to know there's a part of you that sort of goes into that place. Well, I'm not content. If I had this, then we'd be good, or this or that. But those words, be content with such things as you have. And you say, how do we do that? Well, look at the next line. He himself has said, talking about Jesus, I will never leave you nor forsake you. That's the one thing that should bring us great contentment, is the idea that he will never leave us or forsake us. It doesn't matter if our computer is not the latest and most up to date. He will never leave us or forsake us. It doesn't matter if maybe we're looking for another job and we think in our minds, well, if I have that job, I'll be content. He will never leave us or forsake us. You see how that works? The word contentment in the Bible actually literally means to put up a barrier, like a defensive position. And it's speaking about strength. It seems as if it is in our contentment is where we truly find strength. It's like the words of the Apostle Paul in Philippians 4, and maybe you've heard this one. He says, not that I speak in regard to need, for I have learned in whatever state I'm in to be content. Do you hear those words? I have learned to be content. So apparently it's something that is learned. He says, I know what it is to be abased. I know what it is to abound. Everywhere and in all things I have learned to both be full and to be hungry, to both to abound and to suffer need. I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Apparently, our strength is found in our contentment, as I said, It's how we put up a barrier to this whole world around us. That's literally what contentment is. And again, as Paul said it, it's something that is learned. Let me give you one more verse. This is from 1 Timothy 6, 6 through 8. Now, godliness with contentment is great gain. Ooh, do you hear that one? Godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and certainly we can carry nothing out. And having food and clothing, and we shall be content. So again, it's something we learn, but here, as I'm understanding this from Paul writing to Timothy, it's a mindset, isn't it? It's the idea that I have what I need. It's all right in front of me, and I need to be content. And in my strength, or in his strength, maybe that's a better way to say it, that's where we find our contentment. To recognize that it's this change of mind, this change of thought. So today, check your own contentment level. Where are you today? Do you feel that? Do you feel that sense? And again, going back to the original text in Hebrews, he will never leave us. He will never forsake us. The other part of that, the Lord is my helper. I will not fear. What can man do to me? Think about that as it relates to contentment. He's always there. He will never leave us or forsake us, and he is our helper. And that nothing in this world, nothing in this life, when we are his, can change that. Can you hear the contentment in that? Can you hear the strength in that? So today we're going to switch over to prayer here in just a moment, but I really believe that there's something there for all of us to be praying for. Well, I guess the first thing would be, Lord, teach us. Teach us to be content. Lord, help us to hang on to those words that you gave us, especially, I will never leave you or forsake you. The Lord is my helper, will not fear. Those are the things that really, truly bring contentment to our hearts. Is Lord, help us to learn it. Help us to be content wherever we are, as Paul said. If I have a lot, if I have a little. He said he's learned the secret of being content in all situations. And then he tacks on at the end, I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Yes, the strength that comes from contentment.